Well, hey guys, thanks so much for joining. And of course, Jackie over there is on the keyboard, and
And we
Brooke,
also have Brooke.
you might have seen her on the chat.
Woo!
Here she is in the real life. Well, man, this is really cool. Like, this is our fourth one, I guess we've done.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and the other ones have all been outside, sort of landscapes, or walking through a park. We did two people with umbrellas and whatnots. But this one is going to be a little bit different because we're going to do a portrait. And I wanted to do something a little iconic. A face that everybody kind of knows, or most people know, Jim Morrison, The Doors. Anybody who's cool knows. So we put it that way. The Lizard King himself. And I've also started another portrait down here and another kind of semi, so we can look at those sorts of things. But if anybody is interested in trying to do a portrait, if anybody has any questions about it, I may not know the answer, but maybe somebody else on the stream will. So all of us working together, we might be able to figure out some stuff. And I also wanted to show the technology that I use whenever I do a portrait, like an iconic sort of figure or from a photograph. And so I can show that. I won't spend a lot of time on that unless you have specific questions or you want to see more, then we can do more. And actually, I left my phone in there, so I meant to get that if I want to show it to you. But it's, thanks, Brooke. See Brooke. Awesome. Already. Man, I was walking around all day with that thing for some reason, and then 2 minutes before the thing, I put it up, which is ridiculous. What are you gonna
No, that's mine. It's probably on the.
do? Yeah. So I wanna do a portrait, and I want to show. Now, what I did here is I've already gone out with white paint. It's probably hard to see, but a lot of times when I draw, since I don't. Oh, did you find it?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, thank you. You're tops, man.
You can kind of see the reflection of the light off
Can
of
you?
some of the raised line, like the top left.
Oh,
It's
cool.
like his hair, and if you like tilt the canvas up a tad bit, they may be able to see it.
Yeah, and even if you can't see it, it's basically if you're sighted and you do a sketch, you're making little lines and things. You're basically just carving up the canvas in areas that makes it easier to work. You think you're gonna have a nose somewhere, you think you're gonna have the eye somewhere, the lips. You just start putting it in. Well, that's what I did with this, and but whenever I start, and this is really new. And I'll go ahead and talk about the technology a little bit because that's one thing that a lot of people ask about, and it's a really, really cool thing because it's the way that visually impaired people are able to access museums and galleries now. It's becoming more and more of a thing. We've worked with galleries all over the country, from the Meadows Museum in Dallas, which I know I keep saying, but they're amazing, incredible museum. The Dallas Museum of Art is another incredible one. The Metropolitan Museum in New York they're really working on a lot of cool stuff. But there's places all over the country though that are doing it, but they're using adaptive techniques so that if you're visually impaired and you go into a gallery and you're looking at a painting, they may have a raised line version of it that you can feel. And one of the ways that you can do this is through the technology that we have. And a lot of people don't realize if you're visually impaired, only about 15% of visually impaired people even read Braille anymore. And I read it, but mostly I read it, and as you can probably tell, I'm a very lazy Brailler because I don't. Here, let me find one. This should be white because I have it in my white spot. So you can tell, like, I don't put like a whole lot of Braille on there. I just put what I need. And it's very, it's kind of embarrassing. But it basically does what I need it to do. It's a label. So it tells me what it is. I only use Braille really for this and for playing cards. Like, I love to play Texas Hold'em, except Brooke usually beats me when we play, but it's still fun. But it's a lot of fun. So everything else though is technology. So the computers, the way that computers work, they're called screen readers, and it basically translates everything on a screen into something that you can hear. And there's also some new apps and things out for tactile devices where it'll vibrate. So and I'll show you that in a moment. Like I said, I'm not going to spend a lot of time because I want to get painting. Anybody else that wants to get painting will do that. But there's one program on my computer that I want to show you, and it's one that's free. And I'm so excited about it. I love that because you can put the program on a thumb drive. If you're anywhere in the world, you're Africa, you're here, you're in Canada, wherever, you can put that thumb drive in the computer and it turns it into a talking computer for free. And it's amazing. And it has a program on there that will take the mouse and it'll turn it into like a light sensor source. So when you're scrolling over a black and white image, it'll make different sounds by either what quadrant it's in. Like it'll put it out in different speakers. So headphones are really great with that. But also the lightness and darkness. And could you show that video? And
Yeah, what's the name of the program, real fast, Joel?
Oh, I'm sorry. That would be helpful. The program is called NVDA.
Cool.
Just the letter NVDA. Letters NVDA. So it's a really good one. But other ones out there like JAWS is a big one. And there's some more, but the ones I'm mostly familiar with are JAWS and NVDA. I've played around with all of them, but those are probably the best.
You want me to get it?
Yeah, please. So it'll sound a little weird. So whenever it talks, whenever somebody first showed me this program, I said, oh, that sounds really great, but is there a version that speaks English? Because it just sounded so fast. I thought it was in Chinese or some other sort of language. But whatever the mouse, as you can probably hear if I'll be quiet for a second, is it's going over the image. It makes different sounds. And I'm not doing it live because we have so much stuff that's hooked up and whatnot that I didn't want to make feedback or do anything weird. Our audio here can be crazy. So we made this quick little video just a minute ago. So it makes different sounds, and I know it sounds a little hard to understand.
So John, is it like the frequency is higher when it's in dark spots or something?
It's higher whenever it's in a light spot. So the lighter the value of the pixel that it's in, the louder the sound is, and the lower than the darker the sound is. And doing it over, it's a very iconic sort of image of Jim Morrison, and of course the images can also be changed. They can be manipulated so it's more black and white, less gray. So a person who has they're less adept with the program, they haven't used it that much, you can just make it where it's a few colors, like maybe a couple of gray colors, a black and a white, and then it makes it easy for you to go across it. And here, everything I have talks to me. So let me put this on, and let me load an app on my phone. And what I'm doing is I'm listening. It's going through my Bluetooth, and I just go to this app. And there's probably not anything here up here to see, so I'll try to put something. There's not a lot of light, so I put a paintbrush. Now, whenever I touch the screen and I go, I can feel it because it turns the screen into a tactile display, so I can actually feel where the paintbrush is.
So what's the variation in vibrating? Is it actually gradiating like the vibrating, or is it just like da 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 and then?
It does. It's a good question because if it's a very thin line, it'll vibrate a little bit. And if it's a thick line, it'll vibrate a lot. And it's nice that you can use the camera, you can use a still image. So you can hold it up in a room, and if somebody walks across the room, you can actually feel their movements as they walk across. And this is just one thing, and there's other apps. Let me get out of that. And this is going to totally mess my phone up. Here it is. So what this is doing, it's basically kind of the same thing a submarine one does. But it changes everything into sound. So movement is sound, shapes are sound, color is sound, and there's like 100 different settings, and it'll go on forever. And she'll keep talking. But let me turn her off real quick. It's the only thing. This I'm beta testing this app, and I'm just gonna turn my phone off because the app is amazing. It's really cool, but it takes over your phone, and even if you turn the screen off or whatever, it will not be quiet. What's interesting though is it turns your phone to almost like a submarine, and where you have subs, which some of the most sophisticated equipment that our country has, and yet there's not a window, so people who are piloting these subs, they can't just poke their head out the window and see where they're going. They have to use sound. So they're able to tell if there's a fish outside, if there's a missile coming towards them, if there's a submarine, what the make of the submarine is, all through sound. So this is much simpler than a submarine. And at first when I tried it, I thought, oh, this is crazy. There's no way anybody can understand all these sounds. And then Jack went across the room one day, and it was going, and made the sounds. I thought, oh my goodness, I can hear Jack going across the room. So it actually works. So there's all this adaptive equipment. Plus in the studio, we've just put in the 3D printer, it's working now. We're getting things out. So very soon we'll be able to make 3D images of a 2D image, like turn a 2D photograph into a 3D image. Things are just exploding. They're getting so cool, so neat. So anyway.
Well, let me tell you really quick, John. some people are tuning in. We got Owen, Sue, Barb, One Bell, Ange, and the Wigginton family is joining us while eating fajitas.
Oh, yum.
There's 13 of them watching while they eat fajitas.
Good choice. It's a big family. Man.
So, and Tony is joining us too. She says that all that sounds like a spaceship. And
it does, doesn't it? It's very, it's funny. It is like, it's kind of funny where like if you watch the old episodes of Star Trek, and a lot of the technology they had, we have now like they have the flip communicators and stuff, and I still like my old flip phone. It just felt like I was from Star Trek, but my smartphone's much better. But it's incredible though. They have cars that'll park themselves, that'll drive themselves, and the stuff is just getting really cool. So it's less and less of a disadvantage, any sort of disability you have. There's so many different accommodations and adaptations out there. But thank you guys so much for joining. And man, fajitas sound good.
I know. Now
Oh,
I'm
it's always a
hungry.
good. I know I am. I wasn't before, but now I am. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate that. Man. All right, so I'll get started on this. But first, though, I wanted to show. Now, what I'm going to do. This is going to be a very simple sort of portrait, and what I would recommend if you're going to start doing a portrait, and I think people get a little nervous about it sometimes when they're like, "Oh my goodness, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard." It is a little tricky with a portrait in that if you're painting a tree and you get a leaf off a little bit, no one's going to care or even notice. If you're painting a portrait and you get somebody's nose off a little bit, everybody's going to notice. And if it's of a living person, then they're probably going to care too. They're like, "What do you think I look like that?" But the main thing about a portrait though is just to go slow, just take your time, and know that if you don't like a line, you just cover that line up. It's no big deal. If you've ever looked at an X-ray of a Monet painting, it looks like a 4-year-old went crazy with a 4-year-old was just introduced to a pencil for the first time. I mean, it's ridiculous. There's lines everywhere. But what an artist will do is they'll make a lot of lines, but then they'll just pick the one that they like, and then they'll go with that. So you'll make a line, you're like, "No, that's not quite right." You make another, "No, that's not quite right." I know that sounds simplistic, but it's the absolute truth. So with this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to put down a couple of colors. And, well, actually, I'm not going to try to. I'm definitely going to put down a couple of colors. Hopefully, I'll get them where I need them to. What I'm going to start with, let's see, I grabbed it. Did I? Yes. I have all my paints in certain spots, so I grabbed this in the light yellow spot where it's supposed to be, but I almost forgot to check just to make sure it was actually light yellow. It's good to read the label. So here's a little tip. What I like to do, for acrylic paints, if I want to water them down a little bit, if I want to make them looser, I can use water. But you can also use a really heavy pigmented artist quality ink. And that'll make it where your paint will dilute a little bit. It'll make it easier to move around. But you don't lose that pigment though. So that's nice. So it still stays kind of thick. Now what I'm going to do, I don't like this brush. Making changes before we start. Okay, let me try this one. You know what? I don't like that one either. I want. Okay,
How do you decide on what brush you're going to use, John?
Oh, that's a good question. What I'm using now is just basically a round brush, and I'll show this in. Actually, the one I put up will be easier. It's sort of this one's a kind of, I don't know. It's more of a round, and this is just because I want to draw in some of these lines, and it's nice. A round is just really nice for being able to do that. And that's one of the things. If you're starting to paint, if you're getting into paint, you go into an art store, and you'll see tons and tons of different kinds of brushes, and it can be daunting. You can look at it and go, "Oh my goodness, what in the world?" But there's no reason to be daunted by it. You don't need all of those brushes. You really don't. Just having a couple of good rounds, like a small round and a bigger round, really helps.
Watch your head, honey.
Oh, me? Oh,
Yeah.
I thought it was John Jack. Sorry. Oh, thank you. I really like to get into work.
We all really like watching the back of your head, but.
Oh, thanks. Let's see how it is.
He does have good hair.
Oh, thanks. Everybody look at my hair. So what I'm doing is I'm just putting a little bit of color right now, and because I want to put some black lines in, but it occurs to me that maybe doing a little bit of a lighter color might be a good idea at first.
So what part of him are you painting for people that don't see the drawing?
Okay, yeah. In the drawing, I'm feeling a drawing that I put down a little bit earlier, and it's basically a sketch. So it's ideas, and it's probably going to change. I usually change things. I'm working around the eye. Now, when you're doing a portrait, you can kind of get kind of loose and crazy with a lot of the face. The parts that you want to pay attention to, though, are the eyes and the mouth and the nose. And but with that said, the least important part of all that is probably the nose.
So what made you decide to put color down before the black lines on this one?
Well, it's a very light paint, and if I started putting the yellow down with the black, because most of the time I put black down first, but if I did this on and the black was still a little wet, then it's going to pull that black into the yellow lines, which is fine. All these yellow lines are probably going to be covered up. I just wanted to put a little color and have a little bit of shading and stuff for everybody to see for this. So I'm going down the side of the face towards the chin area. And I'm not sure, I'll stop using the yellow. Is this showing up on the camera?
Yeah.
Is it? Okay, cool.
It is.
Okay, good. Well, then I'll keep using the yellow for a bit.
Well, we have a first-time watcher, Drop Dead Legs 2, is joining us and says hello.
Oh, well, hi there. Drop Dead Legs. That's awesome. Wish I had Drop Dead Legs.
Owen said he sees that you're using your fingers like a guide for the lines. Would you recommend that for any other blind or visually impaired artists?
Owen, man, that's a really good question. It just depends. There's so many different types of visual impairment. If a person has some residual vision, then it might be easier for them to use adaptive techniques that are really focusing on their remaining vision. But it just depends. Like for me, it really helps, and I tell people who are sighted to use their hands as well to get, whenever you're working with a model, touch as much as you can. If you're working, whether it's a person or whether it's a thing, an object, the more you touch, the more of yourself you're using, and the more you're going to get out of it, and the better your art's going to be. And the same when you're painting, but everybody is different. That's the wonderful thing about art, is that you do what makes sense to you. So for me, touching works, but I know there's other visually impaired artists that I can't think of his last name, but there's a visually impaired photographer in California, and I did a show with him. His name is Bruce something. Oh my goodness! But if you look up Bruce, visually impaired photographer, you'll probably find him. There can't be that many, surely, that does underwater photography who are visually impaired. But for him, though, he can see a little bit, but he can't see when he's actually taking the photographs. So whenever he's underwater, he'll click away. Then he gets back to a studio.
It's Bruce Hall.
Bruce Hall, that's it. Thank you. I should have known. Bruce Hall is also the name of the place where Bruce Hall on campus, where I would usually eat breakfast, which is interesting. Completely unrelated to Bruce Hall, the photographer, but I'm surprised I would forget that. But the cool thing, he would go back to his studio and he would use this adaptive technology to be able to look at the photographs and see which ones he got, and he did some spectacular work. But if you're having to use your sense of touch, using raised lines is really, really good. And if you are going to use raised lines, starting with something like fabric paint is a naturally good place to start, really, because it makes a thick line that dries pretty fast. Once you get used to drawing and working with paints a little more, then you can start mixing your own. Like I use different mediums, and I'm not sure. Here's a medium that I use quite a bit, and I mix this in with the black. It's an iridescent medium made by Liquitex, and I know like last week or the week before I was showing you some other mediums. This one is really nice because it actually makes the paint feel different when it's wet. So it's easier to feel like that black as opposed to this yellow, even though they have about the same viscosity, about the same looseness. It gives it this sort of, it's hard to explain, but it just feels different. Like you're not going to get the two confused, even though one's not thicker than the other. But that's a really long answer for that good question. Sorry. Let's go on and on and on about it. It's a little difficult though at first. Like if you're coming from a sighted background and you start trying to draw using raised lines, it takes a little bit for your brain to get used to that. Less time than what you would think though, because honestly, the way the brain makes images and things is the brain doesn't really care where it gets the image from. You know, whenever you're dreaming and you're asleep, your eyes are closed, but you're seeing images. Your brain is treating that as if it was real, and that's one reason why your brain paralyzes you when you're asleep. So if you have a bad dream of a monster, you're not suddenly running across the bedroom trying to get away from it. Because part of your brain, it doesn't know. Like if it sees an image, the judgment area there is like saying, "Oh, it must be real." So it's the same sort of way whenever I'm touching to visualize something. I'm using the visual part of my brain. But it's going by touch instead of like it's like when you're dreaming, you're using the visual part of your brain, but it's coming from the memory, the sensory information, the stimulus. So for me, when I'm doing this, the sensory stimulus that's jogging the vision isn't coming from the memory part, but it's coming from my fingers. And there was things that I did to help improve that, like I would touch a baseball and I would think about what part of the baseball I was touching, if it was a seam, if it was a cut in the leather, whatever, and I would try to visualize in my mind exactly what part that was. And I would just visualize everything. And I would touch a chair, I would try to think about the exact part of the chair I was touching with my fingers and try to hold that image in your mind. And of course, the more you do anything, the better you get at it. So,
well, hey, while you're thinking, Janelle Coleman has tuned in.
Oh, hey.
And Sue Clark said that she really liked the interview that you posted on Facebook today.
Oh, thank you. That was I forgot it. They actually, she did that interview maybe about 5-6 months ago, I think.
Yeah, it was July.
Oh, July. Wow.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And she said it would be a while before it got posted, but yeah, I forgot all about that. I forgot about that. What color is love and all that sort of stuff. It's interesting. But thank you for watching it.
Yeah, I thought it was I thought it was a really interesting interview because it was a different take for anybody that didn't watch it or listen to it, I should say. It's the program is Man Inside Show, and it's this woman has this podcast basically where she gets kind of the inside scoop on men and different things that they're their thoughts and different, I guess, celebrity different people and just takes a different perspective on the interview. It's not necessarily about them and their profession. It might be like how they met their spouse and how their profession is affected by their relationship. So it's a very relationship oriented show. But I thought it was really interesting because she asked you questions that nobody has asked you yet, which I was fascinated to hear the answer to some of them, but slightly awkward but hilarious all at the same time.
Good times. Yeah, it was different. Definitely different. Good times. You just never know what someone's going to ask. It's funny, I work with kids a lot, and kids will ask you anything. If they find out you're visually impaired, like, Mr. John, how do you go to the bathroom?
No
how do you do
filters.
this? How do you do that? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm like, well,
No filters at all.
Yeah.
Well,
Carefully? I don't know. Fast, but not too fast. I don't know. It's kind of like the thing, so somebody asks you if they can use your bathroom real quick. And you're like, well, you can take all the time you want. Don't go too quick.
So Owen says, amazing, it's starting to look like Morrison. Does memorization of what they look like help you a lot before you became blind?
When I first started working from a photograph, type of thing, when we were trying to understand what that technology was like and how to use it, so we could use it in museums and the big part of it was I wanted to do a painting of my grandfather. So we started using photographs that I remembered how the person looked, like Jimi Hendrix. He has a very iconic sort of face, Marilyn Monroe and James Dean, people like that, so that at least you have an idea of what you're looking for a little bit, and then you're trying to understand what the distinguish the sounds and what that means, and so I started with that so that it would be easier. But now, after working with it for a while, it's just like anything, I suppose. You get to a point where it's really not, you can do it with anything. And I did one painting of a soldier who had gone to Iraq, and he had this wonderful photograph of him walking down a street holding this young boy's hand, and I was able to do a painting of that from the photograph. And of course the painting looked different than the photograph, but the basic elements were the same, the soldier and the boy. And it's just, it's just so interesting to work on something like that, to be able to capture that and to try to. I mean, what a wonderful time to be alive when all the way up through human history till now, well, not through human history, photography, I haven't been around that long, but from the birth of photography till now, it's been denied to people who are visually impaired, but now, thanks to technology, those barriers are being thrown down, which is cool, I think.
One thing I remember, I guess Jackie doesn't.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember this, but Brooke remembers this. It's funny.
She would take, y'all had with like a piece of styrofoam, and she would take pins and put them in different spots. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so that you could feel the different spots. There was like a topographic map kind of, and she would sit there and kind
I
of.
don't remember this at all.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I still have a whole bunch of acupuncture needles that I use.
Acupuncture needles, and you would put them in the styrofoam on top of the picture.
Do you remember what images we used to do?
Well,
like portrait work?
I did a Jimi Hendrix one, the first Jimi Hendrix I did. Whenever I made the thing, and because then you could feel it, you could find those pins really quick, then you could move the pins around.
Oh, that's right.
It was
Okay.
It was before I started making lines that would disappear.
Okay.
So it was just
old school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was way back before you had all this really cool technology that sounds like spaceships, like someone said.
Yeah, really.
That's pretty cool. I forgot about that.
Isn't that something?
Back in the day.
Mm-hmm. It wasn't that long ago, really. And stuff just, one of the things, though, I'm putting down these lines, but a lot of this is going to change. This is just, whenever you do a portrait, it's, like this portrait, I don't want it to look, I almost said I don't want it to look realistic, but I want it to look like Jim Morrison, but it's my take on Morrison and his music. I have an LP of his, like an actual vinyl record I bought a couple of weeks ago and been listening. I've been widening the grooves. I've been listening to it quite a bit, and so I wanted to do an impression. So I don't want it to be like flesh tones and detailing, but this sort of technique though can work with that too. But if you want a really realistic sort of portrait, which is a lot of fun to do, it helps if you block in a painting. So you go in and you put lots of colors, you block in all of it so that you have areas where you're going to have highlights, the mediums, the darks. Put all of that in. It doesn't have to look like the person. You're just putting in colors for the value that it is. You can even do it in grays or in browns, and which a lot of the masters did, and it looks really good. And then when you go and put the colors in, the values and stuff, they start building up, and it makes it easier to do the painting and to make it realistic. Which you can probably tell I'm not doing, because I don't want to have a lot of subtle shading in this. I want it to be very bold and right in your face, the way like his music was, and the poetry that he wrote, where it's beautiful, but it's not subtle either, and it has this thing where there's harmony to it, but some of the songs that I like best from Morrison, were like 5 in 1 and Backdoor Man and all these sorts that have like a lot of passion, a lot of feeling behind it. I don't know if passion's the right word, but
yeah, you painted Backdoor Man? You painted that years ago.
Did I?
Yeah. Yeah, that was when you were doing a phase where.
Yeah. It's funny.
You like
it doesn't surprise me.
Would have, I guess maybe like the main lyric or something in braille.
Yeah.
That's right. And that one was just like a doorknob.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I did the door. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, but I didn't do a portrait of him though. It was a door, and it had the braille of all the lyrics off on the right. They'll have the music on the right. It was like every note of the song in color from what I would see. Yeah. I love doing that painting. It's funny, but I remember the painting. Like I remember the whole painting and the way that the colors went down. But I wasn't thinking of it as Morrison. I mean, it
Yeah.
is obviously, but I don't know, crazy.
Well, we got Cece Cochiero, which I'm probably massacring, but she's joining us.
Well, hey, thanks for coming in.
And Patricia says, hi, today I discovered your channel. Would wish you to tell John that he inspires me truly, and she's coming out of Spain.
Wow, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. That's awesome. I wish I was in Spain there with you. I have this dream of going to Spain and chilling a bottle of wine in a river and having a picnic and doing a painting next to that river while the wine's chilling. A very Hemingway-esque sort of moment. And I'm not as big into fishing as Hemingway is. And I go fishing with my dad. And a lot of times I don't put a hook on the line. I'm just out there to chat with my dad and spend time with him. And I don't want to be bothered with having to catch a fish every so often. So I'm just like, how's it going out there? Oh, pretty good.
Well,
But,
and you don't want to, like, have him take it off the hook for you.
Oh, yeah, I'm good at that. I'm good at that. I don't mind taking the fish off the hook at all, but I hate it. I'm really, like, I don't know, since the vision thing, I'm really sensitive to smells. And I hate going around for 2 days with your hands smelling like fish. That's the bad thing.
And worms.
And worms. Fish and worms.
Well, and we have another person watching, Lucas. First time he's wondering kind of what we do. So I was telling him that we watch you paint.
Yeah, we watch me paint. Yeah, Lucas, and I'm working on a painting here of Jim Morrison, and it's adaptive techniques. So the ways that I use to paint. And it's a wonderful thing about painting is that it doesn't matter how you do it, what you do in art. It's all just getting it done. So if the techniques I use to paint are different than another artist, and that's different than another person. Oh, there's one thing I want to mention about that. Sometimes if you're doing a portrait of a person, it's better, I think, to do a sitting if you can do a sitting. But there's tons of artists though that work from photographs, and there's some painters, for them it just works better if they do a photo session, and but I don't know. There's almost seems to be like a thing there, where some people say, "Oh, it's not as good if you work from a photo." Other people say, "Oh, because you have to have a sitting and all this." Sittings are better. I think they're way better. But there's tons of artists though that would use photographs, like Frida Kahlo. She loved photos. Chuck Close, another artist with a disability, loves it. Picasso loved photos. It just depends. It just depends on what works for you, and that's So if you find something that works for you, I'd say run with it, and that's true with any kind of art. I think you read a manual and it says you need to lay out your palette a certain way, and if you do it any other way, you're wrong. Then you'll read another book that'll say the exact opposite. Say, you got to do it this. It's the exact opposite way. If you do it any other way, you're wrong. And it seems like every time you find something, it's.
Well, we also
someone else will say the other.
I was going to tell you, Jeff Holmes is joining us. He says he's not an artist, but he loves what you do, and he sees that you're feeling your work. Can you feel the colors that you use?
Yeah, that's a good question, Jeff. I mix different mediums in with the paint. So I have one here that I've mixed in with the black, which I haven't started using.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. Owen asked a minute ago, is that expensive? I think. That
Probably.
Liquitex.
Probably. I mean, it's funny. It is and it isn't, because I'll buy it this much, and I paint a lot. I paint every day, and this will usually last me a month or two. And I honestly can't even feel a sticker on here, so I can't even ask Jackie or Brooke to look at it and see how much it is. Most things like this about this size are usually like maybe $12-15.
Yeah.
Although you can often get them on sale, and if you go online, different retailers like Jerry's Artorama, Dick Blick, different things, they'll offer sales. So you sign up for their newsletters, and they'll send you coupon codes and things. And you can also buy stuff in bulk. Like this stuff I usually buy in a smaller jar because I don't use that much of it when I use it. Other things I buy the biggest tubs they have of it because I know I'm going to use it, and you save so much. I mean, just so much. Like you can get like a jar like this for maybe $15, and then you get one that's huge and get it for maybe like $60, but it's maybe like 8 times more volume or something. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So you put those textures in your paint to make them feel different.
Yes. Good point.
Cool.
Yes, I do.
Bam.
And I have other things. I have other ones in little jars, little things over there, and I'll just change the way the paint feels. The interesting thing about this one though, most of the time when I change the way paint feels, so that's viscosity of the paint that I'm changing, the thickness or the thinness. So like if I want to make a gray between black and white, I might make the white really thick like toothpaste, and the black really runny like oil, and you're not going to confuse those two. They're very different. This medium, it doesn't change the thickness of it. It just makes it feel different. So it has a different like slickness to it. So whenever you feel the wet paint of that, it just feels different than the other paint that you don't have that mixed in with. And it makes it glide a little bit easier, which is nice. So I'm going to start putting some black in here in a minute just because I think black is just sexy. It just makes a nice line. It's fun to use. But let me get more color in here first. So
Whitney Buck
Uh-huh.
said with the fish smell, try rubbing your hands on stainless steel.
Oh
They
really?
make these little things that are like bars of soap, but they're actually just steel bars. And
Oh wow.
you can use that.
Really?
Yes.
Well, how cool.
And now you can catch fish.
Yay. That's cool. Well, that is really good to know. Hey guys, I also want to say, like chat, if anybody is tuning in through the website, chat isn't available there, but if you click the YouTube icon on the bottom right hand part of the window, it'll take you to the YouTube channel where there is live chat. Some people ask if they're using a mobile device, how do I get to chat? Depends on your mobile device on that, but it's usually on the bottom. Like there's usually a little thing that says live chat on the very bottom of the screen, and you have to swipe up, and then you can get to chat there. If anybody wants to Skype in, if anybody wants to talk live, their voice, or video chat in, we have that. And if anybody out there works on their own artwork and they just want to share it with us, share it with the crowd, then that would be super cool.
So Valerie Connell has joined us and says, awesome work. Have you ever tried the new 3D printers to create your reference?
Haha.
Which I saw that and I grabbed the octopus if you want to show it.
Oh
to
yeah.
people.
Oh, thank you, Valerie. Thanks so much for joining. And we got one a little while back, and we had some issues with it. We have I don't know all the specifics of it, but like it's a really nice one. It'll make like a head size print, so that we can actually print an entire face, entire head. Right now we're just printing little octopuses and robots. We print a lot of little robots, a lot of.
Well, I'm in charge of the 3D printer.
Yeah, a lot of nerdy things, but that's what it's going to. We're trying to develop it where the software where we can take a nice 2-dimensional image and then convert it into a 3D. And of course that part's a little tricky. We also have a really nice 3D scanning camera, which it'll take a 3D image with just one click. So you take one click and it's instantly a 3D image. You take like 2 pictures or 3 and you've got the entire body, entire head. So that's kind of the next step with that. So we can just do some interesting things with it. But it's just amazing though, isn't it? It's just the stuff that's out there.
It's fun. It's pretty fun. Janelle Coleman asks, was the Jeff Bridges portrait done in a sitting or by photos?
It was done by photos, and because I wanted to have it done when I went out to I was going to Santa Barbara for they were releasing a documentary about my artwork, and they were and I knew Jeff Bridges was going to be there, and there were some other people that were going to be there, and I wanted to do a painting of him anyway. And the director of it was saying like, hey, I know you like Jeff Bridges, and you were thinking about doing a painting of him. Why don't you go ahead and do it instead of waiting? And now might be a good time. So I went ahead and did it, and but whenever I got to meet him though, he was just the nicest guy, just incredibly nice.
Well, and Owen, interesting enough, said asked if you've ever heard of Lisa Fittipaldi. He's reading her book, A Brush with Darkness, right now.
Oh yeah.
So, and what's funny about her is she has a bed and breakfast in San Antonio.
Yeah.
Yeah, she paints some gorgeous paintings of horses.
Yeah, she did. I'm not sure. I haven't heard from her. About her in a while, so I wasn't sure if she was still painting or what the deal was, and so I wasn't sure. But yeah, that definitely. And she used to do a lot of charity work in the state, and I'm not sure. I haven't heard from her in a bit, but so I hope she's doing okay. Health wise and everything, and maybe she's doing a lot. I'm not exactly the person most current. Like, you don't want to get your news from me, because I'm never up to the. She may be doing a million things. But I thought she was really cool though, because she was so active in different things. There's also a and I'm gonna really get his name bad. I'm gonna get his name bad. I'm gonna mispronounce his name, but Esrif Armagen. No, actually, you know what? I think that is how you say it. He's a visually impaired Turkish painter, and he painted before I did. And he paints like semi-realistic sort of things. And I was gonna do some work with him at the Metropolitan last year actually, hopefully this year. Um, he's somebody I really admire. He does a lot of work with charities and things, and he ended up having a heart attack, so I had to postpone all of that. But so I'm waiting to see if he's better, if he's gonna pull through. He pulled through. Everything's good. It's surgery and everything, but now just waiting to see if he's gonna be able to travel. But
Oh, Owen wants to know when to expect a shout in the dark in audio formats.
oh man, send me an email and I'll hook you up, because and it's ridiculous. It's so crazy. And one of the things with the publisher was that wasn't even put in the contracts. It was just it was like it just seemed like a simple thing. Like, of course we're going to put it in Braille, and it's in Chinese now, and it's not in audio format, and it's just ridiculous. Like, why not put it in audio format? But I can get my hands on an electronic copy. Don't tell anybody. But if anybody,
just tell everyone.
yeah, I know. But if anybody would like, the whole reason that I worked on the book was because whenever I was dealing with that, hearing stories about other people, whether or not it was the same thing, whether it was visual impairment, but you hear about hearing people tell their stories that were going through things in their lives, like if it was the loss of a parent, or if they were in a car wreck, or any sort of thing that changed their life in ways that they didn't anticipate. Hearing people go through it and telling their story, and I thought when I did that, when I was going through that, I thought, one of these days, for better or worse, I want to be a part of the dialogue. I at least want to, whether for better or worse, I want to put my voice out there and just have it out there. And if somebody wanted to read it, they could. And if they didn't, at least I put myself out there a little bit with it. So.
Well, Witzel has joined us.
Well, hi. Thanks.
As well as Linda E.
Well, thanks so much for joining, guys.
And Old Unk.
Old Unk. Welcome.
Says, glad I found this.
Well, I'm glad you found it too, and I keep putting my head in front of the camera, I'm afraid, but I don't know. Has it been okay?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm learning. You can't teach an old dog new tricks every once in a while. Yeah.
Valerie Connell asked, she saw some videos earlier of you using oil paints and notices now you've switched to acrylics. Why is that?
Very good question. And the main reason is because they dry faster. And used to with oils, I would do about one painting a month. And now I could do about a painting a day or more sometimes, or less, depending on the size of the painting and if I hit a snafu or something. I'm currently doing a painting of a surfer, and the wave that he's riding on is killing me, because I don't know.
I can't remember you painting a big wave like that.
I never have, but which is fun. So, but the main thing though with acrylics is that I can hit it with a heat gun and dry it and freeze it really quick, and you can't really do that with oils. You just mess everything up. So so it makes it nice with acrylics. The reason I started with acrylics though was because my son Jack was born, and I was really afraid of getting toxic chemicals and things from him, because I'll use whatever paint I like. I don't use gloves, paint thinners, all these sorts of things. I didn't mind getting it on my skin, but I had a little white dog named Anne when I first started painting, and I would pet her and go, "Oh, I love you, Anne," got paint all over that poor little dog, over and over. And I thought my hands were clean. I could see the same thing happening to the baby.
And your face.
Jackie, yeah, my face. But I could just see Jackie coming back home and like, what did you do to Jack? And why is he purple and green? And so I switched to a non-toxic paint, and what that did though, because I painted with oils for like 7 years, and I didn't use anything else, but it made me have to develop more techniques for being able to control the colors. And honestly, that's what helped my art just explode in the point where I can paint a lot faster. I can make lines that dry quicker. I can make thinner lines, thicker lines that I can have when I want them, and then have them disappear later on when I don't need them, which it's hard to do with oils.
Well, and you know what is, and maybe you covered this in the very beginning, and I was just juggling cameras or something. But in this painting, you used raised lines.
I did,
which you never do anymore.
Well, I do, but I do a very minimal sort of raised line.
Well, yeah, but you don't do it with puff paint, which is what is leaving that sort of
and I did it
glare that people are seeing.
Yeah, and I did it with this one because I thought it might show up on the camera a little bit,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to use black on white because some of these lines I want to cover up with the paint. If you have black lines, it won't let you do it. So for me, I can paint with white on white, and it's fine for me. I mean, I'm not going to see it anyway. So just as long as I can feel it, but it makes it where I can cover it up later when I don't need those guidelines anymore, and it doesn't disturb. You know, I can do thin paint, and the black's not going to show through. So in this, though, I made it a little thicker so that maybe it'll show up. Most of the paintings I do, every painting I do a drawing, but it's usually a very thinner drawing. But I've been doing this a while, so thin it works. But I wanted to show it a little bit thicker because I wanted to show the technology and hopefully at least get an idea that whenever I do a portrait or something, I usually prep it. I go in, I think about it. I think about the entire portrait, what all I'm going to do. I paint it in my mind, and I'm not sure how much. Oh, and also I wanted to do this faster. A lot of times when I do a live painting, I'll paint with thicker lines. Like if I'm doing a painting at an event, which I am tomorrow, and I don't want to forget to talk about it. But a lot of times I'll go in with a bigger line because if I'm talking, I can find the line a lot easier if my mind's on something else. Where most of the time in the studio, all I'm thinking about is painting, so it's a thin line's great. But tomorrow though, we're going to be at the in Garland at the Achievement Center of Tech. Well, we're not going to be at the Achievement Center of Texas. We're going to the Special Arts Festival.
Yeah, it's from 9:30 to 2 p.m. in Garland. And it's all. I think the information's all on your website, and we'll post it on about Facebook multiple times. But people can come out and paint with you, and the whole festival is geared towards people with special needs and helping them explore their creativity and get past any obstacles that they feel they have or whatever. So there's going to be performances on stage, and John's going to paint, and there's going to be craft tables for the kids and all sorts of fun stuff. So.
It's fun.
This is an event that my mom does. What time is it? At 9:30 a.m.
But it lasts for 4 hours.
Yeah, it's early
and if anybody wants to paint, we'll have extra paint and canvas. And I'm going to work on a boat on the coast sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think we're going to try, and if we can get Wi-Fi, we're going to try and get the live stream hooked up just to see if anybody tunes in. I don't know. I'm not gonna make any guarantees because we don't even have the access for sure yet.
Yeah, if we get Wi-Fi or not.
But if you're bored at 9:30 a.m., you can maybe tune in.
Yeah.
From bed.
Yeah, from bed. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it is awesome though. I mean, the whole idea of it is to support children with disabilities, different types of things. It's just a wonderful event. It's so much fun.
So Jeff Holmes says, have you thought about doing a series on Pink Floyd?
Oh man, that would be cool. I did that Dark Side one, and I definitely want to do more. Oh my goodness. It's funny too because I just started getting into LPs again, actual albums, and that's definitely an album that you can sit down. It's like a story. You sit down, you can listen to the entire thing. We just went to the lake. We spent a few days with my parents out at their place at a lake, and we brought LPs. And it was amazing how much fun it was. We were all outside. I have a record player that could run on batteries. So we're outside just listening to these records and stuff. It was just so much fun. And my mom has records she bought in the 70s that we're listening to, and it's artists that even she forgot about, and it was just so much fun. But you listen to all of it, so you listen to every song. And I'm gonna pause just for a second because I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. But I was thinking, I don't know, it hasn't been quite an hour, but do you think we ought to do the giveaway or the print thing, or do technique of the or technique?
What do you
thing?
want to do?
I don't know. Who won last time? We gave a print
Sue
last.
Clark.
I thought Sue won. Oh my goodness! What if Sue won again? We gotta ring her, and then she wins every
luck
time.
is on her side.
I guess
I
so.
will say though that this time we're just gonna do medium print.
Oh yeah.
But anything that people wanted to choose off the site.
It's a medium, and I'm afraid it's only for.
Oh, within the U.S. because
Yeah.
shipping is insane. Unfortunately,
It is, and I'm so sorry if you're I know we have people that are tuning in from other places, and I'm so sorry. The shipping outside the U.S. is just crazy.
Yeah, we'll put our heads together and see if there's a way to do the giveaways where we can ship it outside of the U.S. It's just it would have to be that big.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah,
It'd be
Here's a
tiny.
postcard.
Yeah, it might be like a postcard.
Do your signature. There you go.
Yeah, just yeah. We'll send you a signed email. I don't know. That sounds. I don't know. Something. There has to be something out there to do because there has to be something. But
Yeah,
maybe we should do the drawing. Give the print away.
Okay, so I'm gonna put up the question. Okay, so we gotta lay down the ground rules.
Okay. Oh yeah.
All right, I'm gonna put up the question, and everybody can chime in with the correct answer, and for the period of time that the question is up, and for everybody that has the correct answer, we're gonna put your name in a hat, and then either Brooke or Jack, because he's joining
He
in.
did put pants on for the event.
He did put pants on, so that's
Fancy.
impressive. Today, it's the last day of spring break, so yeah.
The rules
Tomorrow's
lesson.
the last day of spring break.
Well-
Today is Friday.
Official.
Yeah, you didn't have to go to school today, so it was Friday. Anyway, so we're gonna put the question up, choose the right answer, write it into the chat, and then everybody during the time frame that we have it up, I'll put your name in a hat, and either Brooke or Jack will draw it out.
This
So I'm
needs to
gonna
be
put up the question now.
So this needs to be emptied, right?
Oh yeah, take last week's out, please.
Is it all empty?
All right, here we go.
Good, Daddy.
Okay.
A bird.
All right, so here's the question.
Sorry.
When doing a portrait, how many sittings would Paul Cezanne insist on doing? A, only one, B, no less than 50, or C, at least 100?
This was an egg. I was just put.
So, and because of the delay, we'll leave it up there for a bit. So.
Yeah. So, dun, dun, dun. Oh yeah, that's right. I can't even sing the tune of that. Okay, I'm gonna step out of frame just for a moment.
What are you doing, John?
John's thirsty. So I'm about to start putting black on this, and so more of the dimension will come out of that. And I love putting black and just using black lines. Like I love Monet. Monet never used black. He would not put black in his sketches and his drawings, any of that. He always would use purple or blues or things. But I love black. Very chiaroscuro.
You do love black.
I know, man.
Okay, so some people are chiming in
Oh,
with their answers. I'm about to take it off the screen.
okay, guys, hurry up, get in there.
So the answer is
I was almost gonna say,
what?
if you don't have chat, tell us really quick. But if you don't have chat, so you can sign on the chat. But,
Yeah. Everybody's moved over to YouTube. We don't even have any Facebook users at
Oh.
this point, so it's cool. It's
Well,
good.
cool. Everybody's
All right, so the answer is C, at least 100.
That guy is nutty. He is nutty.
So, John, you should explain where you sourced this, and is there an explanation as to why he needed 100 sittings?
Well, it's just one of the things about Cezanne too is that I found it online, and but it's one of the things about Cezanne is that when he would work on a painting, he would work on the painting forever. It might take him a year or two to do a painting, but he would work on a lot of paintings. So he would work on one for a little bit, set it aside, come back a month or two later, look at it, go like, and then put it back. Maybe take it out another month or two, maybe do a little bit of work. So it makes sense that if he's doing a sitting, he's going to want to sit with that person for quite a while. The average number of sittings that an artist does is 4. Most artists like to do about 4. There's some that will just do 1 or 2. Others that will do 10. And there's some artists that like to do 1 sitting, but they like to sit for 8 hours to 10 hours with a person. And so it just depends. It just depends. Whenever I do a sitting, it's kind of changed over time because it's changed from the beginning. It would only take me about 5 or 10 minutes to be able to do a sitting, but the detail in my paintings wasn't really up to it. So I in 5 or 10 minutes, that's all the details I would be able to paint anyway. Now the sittings take longer, and I've learned that it's a lot nicer if you can do 1, 2, 3, 4 sittings with a person. The more sittings you do, when that painting finally comes around, it's going to be so much better. Because even if it takes a long time to do a painting, the painting is done forever. So so you want to put whatever time it is into it.
Okay.
But yeah, this is on 100. So are you guys going to put the names in a hat?
All right, we're doing this. All right.
Was there a lot of people that had the right answer?
No.
Ah.
No, but that's because that's crazy. Who needs 100 sittings?
What's the most common answer?
A.
Ah,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so Brooke has put them in the hat, and Jack is digging in, and just pick one out.
I should pick all of them.
Everybody's a winner.
I have 2 in here. I can't get.
Just
They're all
one. Grab
They're all stuck together.
Owen.
Owen, all right.
All right.
I like that.
Owen, man, that's
Good
awesome.
name.
Well, hey, buddy, so if there's a medium print that you want, just let us know. It could be any one of them on the site. I think they're all on the site, or if you saw one on Facebook that isn't on the site yet, just let us know, and we'll get that right to you.
Yeah, just email you.
Hi, Owen.
Yeah. Well, that is awesome.
Oh, so you should know that old Unc is Aunt Beverly.
Oh no, really?
And she says hello, Jackson.
Hi.
Hey, Aunt Bev, love you guys. Oh, you know what? I think Jack just got a birthday card.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Is there something you want to say?
Where's your birthday card?
No, it's your birthday card from Aunt Bev and Uncle Joe.
Thanks.
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 Thanks very much every day.
Anyway.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll have a Jim Morrison here in a minute.
Jim Morrison.
So Valerie says she grew when we were talking about the Special Arts Festival. She grew up in Garland, but she's in Flagstaff now.
Oh, nice.
Small world.
Flagstaff. And
Sue said earlier. She said if she won, she'd donate it to the next draw.
oh, that's sweet.
That's nice.
Well, that's sweet. Well, sure, you say that now. I'm just kidding. No, that's awfully nice. Man. Well,
Oh, and Joe's also online with Beth.
wait, Joe. Man.
And Witzel he is gearing up for the contest next week.
Awesome. Man, you're gonna start studying your art trivia. Oh, speaking of next week, okay, so this week we're doing a portrait. And what do you guys want to do next week? Would be fun?
Yeah, why don't you put the question out there?
Yeah. Question of the day. What next? What should we do? I'm trying to be careful because it's black. I tend to like to get it everywhere. So
Because it's so sexy.
it is. Oh man. Sexy lines. There's nothing like it.
Valerie asked if we've been to Flagstaff.
Um,
Yes, we have driven through it.
on the two, well,
On our way to the Grand Canyon.
yeah, Flagstaff is the town right there closest to the Grand Canyon, isn't it? Or it's one of like it's the biggest town, or
It might kind of be, kind of. I honestly don't know. I know that it was like a desperate sort of stop at a grocery store before we were hitting the campsite or something.
yeah, I think it is, and I mean I think it's one of the bigger. It's like an hour to the Grand Canyon or something. So a lot of people that work at the Grand Canyon are out there, and that's why they were. Whenever I went to do some landscape painting, so we went to the Grand Canyon because they have tons of landscape out there, and the poor people that work at the Grand Canyon, they pretty much live there. But most jobs that you work, you get to go home every so often. So you're not seeing the same people all the time. But they would work there and they loved it. But the same people you worked with are the same people that you might eat dinner with, the same people you hang out with, and the same people that you tell all your stories to. And after about a month or two, everybody's heard all your stories, and then they're starting to get a little cabin fever. It seemed like because like there were people that worked there were like, hey, can we come back to your campsite and just hang out for a while? Like, well, I don't know. It just
that was a little odd.
It was fun though.
It doesn't help when you find yourself at the bar for the majority of your vacation.
Well,
Not that we did that.
No.
Yeah, that's true. It's like, yeah. We get to the Grand Canyon. We're gonna hike it, and then we're like 100 yards into it, maybe 75, and it's pretty sunny. We think, well, maybe we need some sunscreen. Although there's a little store. Then we're in the little store, and then and my brother-in-law was like, is that like a bar at the back of the store? Like, that was the end of the hike. We hiked. But the cool thing about it is that we got to meet a lot of the people that work there and kind of got the back, I don't know, the back room scene, the Grand Canyon and what it's like, and that was really neat. And then I got to paint all over that place, all over the rim, but it worked out though. It turns out that Echo does not do well at elevation. Bless her heart.
Oh yeah, that was a little weird. So Sue Clark said it's getting close to Easter. You could think of a crossing or a rabbit.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
And Patricia said, "Oh wow, the black is really making it pop." There's Jim Morrison.
Oh, thank you.
Whistle said an Easter scene would be cool.
Hey, God, we have 2 votes for Easter. And thanks so much for the compliment on the painting. We'll see. I'm trying not to give Morrison a black eye. Okay, I think
Flagstaff is 67 miles from the Grand Canyon.
Okay. That is about an hour. Okay, cool. So.
And Patricia says that's her favorite pic of Jim Morrison. She's inspired to draw it now. Maybe later she can try to paint it.
Oh, awesome. That would be cool.
Thank you. Yep.
So, I'm not really happy with this eye. I'm gonna have to fill it when it dries, but because I think my brush went a little one way or the other, but that's all right. The great thing about I got paint in my hand. The great thing about paint is you can cover stuff up. So, in this idea, I'm gonna try to get the basic outline, the shape of it all, and then so everybody can see what I'm trying to do, and then probably have to finish it up later on.
Yeah, I've never seen you do a portrait there's no doing a portrait in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, inevitably you could start it and then you could show the finished product or shoot a video of finishing it or something and then share it with everybody. But
yeah,
usually there's always like one little tiny fix on it or something.
Yeah. And portraits take the longest. I mean, they just take a while to do because it's just the nature of doing a portrait. But they're fun to do. I mean, I love doing them. It's just like doing a fast portrait. For me, at least, there's some artists that can do it, but for me, it's not so much a thing. Not something that really exists.
So Owen has a question, big question.
Awesome.
How did you know when you were starting to be an artist that you were growing from an emerging artist to a professional artist? What is your own definition?
Last year, kind of after selling art for like 8 or 9 years. No, honestly, Owen, that's a really good question, and it's a hard question to answer because art is different for different people, and they want different things. But for some people, they say, well, the first time you sell a painting, then you're a professional artist. I don't think sales really come into in matter at all with that because it just depends on the way that you view your art, what you're working on, the way if you're dealing with it in a professional sort of manner, so for this, like my artwork, I guess it wasn't until maybe a year and a half ago that I actually thought about it as a business sort of thing, thinking like, well, if I want to take my art to the next level, because there's some shows I want to do that are very interactive, really cool, lots of different people and lots of different things going on. In order to get to that, to do these really interesting, cool shows, then I had to treat my art like a business, and to be able to grow it, to be able to pay for that sort of thing, and that's when I started really doing it. But I didn't really think about it being a business before that because it just seems like a crazy zany business. Like I don't know. Whenever I think about a job, think about it as something that you wake up in the morning, you get ready, you leave the house, you go to a place where you put on a tie or whatever, and or your work clothes, and then you're there and you're working, and then you go home and that's it. Well, with art, it's such a zany sort of thing because you come up with an idea and you work on it and you put it out. Hopefully somebody will like it. If they don't like it, well then that could be a problem. Yes. But I don't know. You probably have a better answer, Jackie, than.
Well, I don't know. Everybody has their own definition, but I would say probably on some level it's just your confidence, maybe, like how you want to be portrayed, and so that's how you refer to yourself, I guess, in public, and especially when you're soliciting galleries or museums or anything. You want to refer to yourself as professional.
Yeah,
I will say that there are some occasions where it helps you to call yourself emerging, because there's a lot of opportunities where contemporary galleries just want emerging artists, or art festivals, they have programs for emerging artists. So my thing has always been, whenever I'm looking at your stuff or we're maneuvering the business, it's what is beneficial at the time. And it's kind of moved over into more professional now, but there's the off occasion where an emerging title is better. But if you're full on, like that's your, especially if that is like your full-time gig, and you maybe are barely paying bills by doing it, you are a professional. I don't know. That's my opinion. But
yeah, that's a really good point though. You don't want to rush out and just say, oh, I'm a professional artist, I show all the time, and it's different to say you're a professional artist and that's like your career, than to say you're professional about it. Like you should always treat your art in a professional manner if you're showing it and you're doing things. But that's a really good point. There's a lot of shows and a lot of festivals, lots of galleries and museums that are looking for the emerging artists. So so having that is good. Write that as much as you can. And the great thing about it too is that it gives you this envelope, like this window, this cushion, where if you're calling yourself emerging, critics and people aren't going to be looking at you as harshly as they would somebody that says, well, I'm a professional artist and this is what I do and I'm an expert and whatever. You can really cut your teeth and get into some places and hone your techniques, and it takes a while. It really does. It's and it's something that is a never-ending sort of thing. It seems like it's like, I don't know. I know for me, like we have a number of shows this year. I don't know how many states we're going to, a lot of different places, and but oh my goodness, I just want to do more. Like there's so many things I want to do.
Watch your head, babe.
Oh, sorry. Is this better?
Mm-hmm. Aunt Bev wants you to paint Elvis.
Oh yeah, I want to do Elvis.
That would be good.
What do you think? Young Elvis, old Elvis.
Ooh. Bad Elvis. Um, so Owen says, cool answer. He feels like he's still emerging, growing, and learning. And he had the discussion with his mentor today, so that's why he was thinking about it.
You know, it's one of those things too, because I know when you're there and you're wanting people to see your art and you're wanting people to see you as a professional artist and all this. It's funny because, I mean, if you just treat yourself like that, then that's what people are going to see you. And the more you show and all that, it's going to come around. And it's like trying to find your style. You know, you can't, it's a sticky wicket with that. You know, the more you do it, the more it's just going to be evident.
And Patricia said the suggestion for next painting, she doesn't know if you've already done it, but a Buddha or an owl. You haven't done an owl. That would be really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, you know,
a few Buddhas. Yeah, just recently, a big, thick, crazy.
Yeah, I've got a white Buddha over there, which I need to show. Oh yeah, it's a really thick painting. I can't find the brush I'm looking for.
But an owl would be cool.
Yeah, an owl would be really cool.
So, you know what? I'm just gonna use this giant brush. Yeah, that's a really good idea. I was actually thinking about doing an owl. And the Buddha too. I have a painting over there. It's maybe like 3-4 inches thick. That's a Buddha painting. Really thick, really crazy thick.
Yeah, let me grab it so you can hold it under the big thing.
If I can, it's heavy.
Well, I'll hold it.
I mean,
where is it? Do you know?
it's right there. It's right by you.
Oh, that's cool. Here, I'm gonna hold.
What is this? Oh, and you can only hold it up because it's only on the.
Yeah. So I'll switch over to the close-up cam.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you can kind of explain like why you did that, like what the deal is with this one.
Yeah, it's called White Buddha, and it's all gesso and paint, so it's really thick. There's trees, and I'm not sure what all you can tell from that, but it's all white. There's a yellow rose. You know, I'm in Texas, so if you're gonna do a rose, it should be yellow.
It should be.
But but all this is paint, and it's just built up into this figure, and then there's the trees that are built up. And when I first did this, it was crazy colors. I mean, it was like tropical, sort of like wild, bright colors. And then I thought, nah, it needs to be more serene. He's meditating, and so I did this, and I'm calling it White Buddha. But it is incredibly thick. Like I don't know if you can tell like the depth of it, but it's all just gesso and paint.
Super heavy.
And super heavy, yeah. So whenever it comes time to ship this thing, it's going to be interesting.
Let me grab that.
Oh, that's all right. I can put it back here.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. That's all right. Wait for it to bust out of that frame.
Yeah.
It really looks cool in that frame though.
Oh, thank you. It's a fun one to work on, and I want to do a lot more of the of that sort of thing. You know, it's all really thick.
So Barb said, thanks for an inspiring night. As an art therapist, not an artist, she can't even begin to tell you how many of her clients believe that they cannot reach their dreams.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing that up. You know, it's one of the great things about art is, whenever you're faced with something that's hard in your life and doesn't feel like there can be any sort of change, you know, that you can't make a difference on anything, whether it's positive or even a negative difference. There's some things that happen in your life and you just feel like you're just powerless. There's nothing that you can do. Art is wonderful because with every brush stroke or every move of the clay or whatever sort of art you're doing, you're changing the world around you in some way or another. If you're writing, you're manipulating the words, the thoughts, the ideas, but you're affecting the world around you. And so it's hard to stay in that sort of, I don't know, that zone where you feel like you can't make a difference anymore. You can't do anything because you're obviously changing stuff. And the great thing about painting, I think too, is that it forces you to just think about the paint on the end of your brush. You're not thinking about anything else. So I'm just thinking about this paintbrush, this brush stroke that I'm making right now. I'm not thinking about anything I lost. I'm not worried about the future. I'm just thinking about the paint and trying to get it to go where it wants. Like I said, I'm making some mistakes here. You know, it's just like life. Don't sweat the small stuff. I'll go back and I'll feel this when I'm blocking it all in. So I'm trying to get the basic shape of this. I'm trying to do it quick because I know we're going to run out of time. Any of the mistakes I'll fix.
So we got a few other viewers. We've got Kim Sim, Consuela Cobb, Pluralplex. They say, hi John, this is Clark and Stephanie and Abilene, loving this live stream. So fun to watch you paint. So amazing to get to see how you create your paintings.
Oh, thanks guys, and thanks for tuning in. And Clark, I hope the fajitas were good.
Oh, and I missed it. Somebody said the young Elvis.
Young Elvis.
Because he's hot.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Someone also suggested Ozzy.
Ooh,
Ah.
Ozzy would be a cool one.
Wow. I
Yeah,
wonder what
Ozzy would
song.
be good. You should definitely do like a hard rocker. That would be awesome.
Crazy Train, maybe?
Oh yeah, Crazy Train.
I'd like to meet Ozzy, except I don't think I'd be able to understand what he was talking about.
No.
You just gotta feel his face. You don't need to understand what he says.
I don't know if you can understand the Jaws program.
Yeah, that's
true. This is true. Good point.
So you got good feedback from on the Budo. If you want to know how the textured painting is, how people feel about it. But
cool.
Sue's like, holy wow, that's crazy cool.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, people dig it.
Well, that's cool. I want to do a portrait. Well, I want to do more than one, but I want to do some portraits of people where the paint is actually built up like the person's face, so you can feel it, and it looks like the person's face, but it also feels like it. So it's like a cross between a sculpture and a painting. But these really thick paintings that I'm wanting to do, working on though, I don't want it to be like stone or anything. I don't want it to be just completely paint. It's just a painting. It's just the impasto technique is just crazy. It's just really, really thick.
Well, and the idea is with like the 3D printer, it'll act as a mold for the gesso, right?
Yeah. Well, at least like whether we'll have to play around with that. Hopefully, at least be able to get, especially for somebody that you can't do a sending with, especially be able to see what they look like in a more 3D kind of way. Because one of the limitations with a photograph is that we do have this great technology that lets you understand the lines and stuff of the photograph by transferring the information into sound or into vibrations, but you're limited to what's there. So so you don't have this 3D sort of thing. You don't get nearly as much information. So with that, it'll just make everything easier, I think.
So your Aunt Donna is tuned in.
Oh, Donna, hey!
Joe called her and told her to tune in. And Azure Muse, I might be massacring that, but they've tuned in and they like the 3D idea. They think that is really cool.
Oh, cool.
And then Patricia said, how about painting Salvador Dali?
Oh, that'd be cool.
That is a really good idea.
mustache.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That thin little mustache, wouldn't that be neat?
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? We haven't done the technique of the week yet.
Oh, yeah.
Theme song.
Oh, it's, yeah, what, do you know what the technique of the week is?
You may have to turn the speaker on.
Do we have to do it?
I mean, right there.
Well, can I just hit scene mode?
Yeah, but the speakers probably turn itself off. So I mean.
Okay.
I don't know. That thing has like a timer on it, so it just sort of.
Okay. Are you going to do the technique of the week?
Oh, well, I'll talk about it.
Okay. So all right. Ready?
I'm ready.
Technique of the week.
And thanks to Jack for doing that.
Awesome.
He's a sweetheart. Well, for the technique of the week, I want to talk about something that's a little simple, really, but I think it's something we don't think about. A lot of times, if you're working on a portrait, especially, and this week's all about portraits, I think it's fun to loosen up the color a little bit, to go in and try to make something feel like the person instead of just looking like them. And one way, if you're not sure, you think, well, I don't know what kind of color to put in there. I don't know how to brighten it. I'm not sure what to go with it. Complementary colors are a great way to go because, like, if you're using, like I'm using a lot of yellow here, So what I'm going to do after a while is put in some purple because it's complementary to the yellow. It's going to make the yellow pop, and it's going to make the purple pop. And you don't have to put a lot of the complementary in there, so a little bit, little subtles, little light shades, dark shades, a little bit here and there, and it's just going to make the colors that you use seem even brighter. And that seems to be a thing that a lot of people who are just getting into painting, one of the big problems is that they'll muddy their colors up. Like they'll mix the colors and mix the colors, and when you mix colors, in paint, it's different than light. The more colors you mix with light, the brighter it gets. You mix all the colors together and you end up with white. Mix all the colors with paint together, you end up getting brown. So it's just different, and so you end up with new painters ending up with these very dark paintings. I'm trying to use some pure colors, but if you throw in a complementary color, it'll blend in a person's eye. It's what the Impressionists would do quite a bit. Monet and them, they would put a bunch of colors next to each other and they would blend the eye.
You know what I think a good example of this is your Jason Lee portrait that you did. Because you use colors that are not, you wouldn't find green in a beard or anything like that, but
well, you hopefully you don't.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, like, if you
St. Patty's Day.
it's right
Yeah, there we go.
it's right behind you if you wanted to show it, but it's a good example of using color instead of just like hues or something. If you hold it up to the thing, I'll switch over. Yeah, so like I think that's super cool how you use the color to create the value versus different, just grayscaling it out.
Drink your original one. I got a two original one. Yes, I agree. I have a habit of putting paintbrushes in my mouth. Yeah, so it's interesting. It can make something pop, and it can also loosen up your palette a little bit. So if you do make a portrait that's very lifelike, sometimes throwing in a little bit of colors, even just a little hint of it, will really make things pop a little bit. And that's something that Monet would do too. Like he wouldn't use black, but he would use things like purples and like a dioxazine purple, cerulean blue. It is, well, maybe not cerulean blue, but he would use these different colors for the shadows and stuff to bring out the light a little bit in it. But it also makes the colors, the light parts, even brighter. And so it's kind of interesting. I'm a fan of black though, but you still use the complementary colors.
Watch your head.
Oh,
hey, Whitney Buck has tuned in and said it's looking great.
Thank you.
Vote for Young Elvis, and you should make a trip here to Memphis to do it.
Oh yeah, man.
So I think that calls for a trip.
I think definitely. You got to get the vibe.
Yeah.
Heck yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it wouldn't be hard to get me to Memphis. I've never been there, but I've always wanted to go. So,
and Valerie says beautiful colors on that Jason Lee. I'm thinking that's what she's referring to.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Well, you guys are awesome tonight, man. Well, you always are, but
Your head.
it's gonna be tricky on this side.
Yeah.
Is it in the way now?
No, you're good.
Yay. Okay.
Just trying to show your hair off again.
I am. Everybody look at my hair. Okay. So I'm following some lines, but I'm also kind of doing what I put down some lines of what I thought I wanted to do, but we're working on his hair. It kind of makes you wonder. It kind of makes you want to mix it up a little bit. So I'm just kind of going with the flow a little bit.
So what other colors are you thinking about adding later on?
That's a really good question. I definitely want to add. I got a bunch of yellow, and the main reason I put the yellow down is because yellow goes with so many different things. With purple, and it just makes the purple more vibrant, and so I'll probably put purple and then put more yellow down over the purple and do sort of a glazing, sort of a tint wash kind of situation. Kind of getting them back and forth, so when the light comes into the painting, it'll go through each layer of paint, comes back out, and it'll give it a different feel. It gives it more of a depth and a richness of color. Which you can do a wash with some colors. You got to be careful. But if you mix a bunch of pigments that are opaque together on a brush, like I said, it'll make it dull. But if you do washes of color, you can actually brighten things up a little bit. You have to be careful; it will dull it, but it's a way of giving a little bit of depth to something. So definitely some purple, some oranges, cerulean blue. I'm a huge fan of cerulean blue. So I'll have some of that in there. And I know that we're going to run out of time, so I'm not going to be able to finish this. So I'm trying to frame in his face really quick. So at least before we end, everybody can see at least get an idea of the way he looks. Oh, the way I think he looks. It's so wet.
So Barb Dorrington wants to know if you've ever been to Canada.
Yes, I love Canada. The only time I travel, I mean, almost the only time, almost by far the only time, is for work and for doing art shows or doing talks or things. And I've been fortunate. I've gone there 3 times, I guess.
Yeah.
And I want to go much, much more. I think Shopify was talking about doing a documentary about my art, and so I might be going up there or something. Maybe not a documentary, but a video of something, maybe commercial. I don't know. But they're based out of there, so I'm hoping, like, yes, Bix would be fun to do, but also I want to go to Canada. I want to get back up there again. It's just, I love Canada. It would not take a lot.
Yeah, when I went that time with you, it was great. It was
When did y'all go?
we went to what do you remember what I know it wasn't winter because
I did a thing with the Discovery Channel in Canada. Was that the trip you went, or was
yeah,
it?
yeah,
was it?
it was like you were doing, and maybe Barb knows about this show. It was the Daily Planet, and the guy that hosted it had been there for almost 2 decades or something, and he was retiring, so it was his last show to host the thing. He has like a book out and everything. Apparently I think he's a celebrity over there. But they invited you out to do a portrait of him on set because a lot of it's the Daily Planet. So a lot of the shows are about these, odd things that humans can do or something like that. So we went out there for a few days, and it was funny because John did the portrait of him. I mean, because portraits take a while, so I mean it's not so fast. So you had to feel his face when we got there, and then we had to go directly to the hotel, and you just painted the whole time
Yeah.
to knock out the portrait so that it could be shown on the live show the next day because it was a live show. It was it was fun to watch as I sat in the audience, but it was just I mean, man, it was a circus that was perfectly timed and all sorts of stuff. It was pretty cool, but the city was great. It was. I could see going. I mean, granted, it wasn't during the winter, which could be scary, but it was beautiful, and I would love to go back.
Yeah, it was a fun trip. Yeah, and that's actually it's a good it's interesting you say that because it really shows the technology because at that time I had to feel his face to even see what the guy looked like. I had no idea what the guy looked like before I got up there, and but now, though, with the technology advanced the way it has, in just a few years, we could get a photo and I could, get an idea of what he looks like through the new technology that we have, the raise line, everything. It's just incredible. But at that point, it was the same way whenever I did that TV show in Holland, and I was going to do a painting of that model that was there, and the only way we could do it was they did a plaster cast of her face and they mailed it to me so I could feel it and see what it looks like, what she looked like, and then I finished the painting on stage. The idea was for me to finish the painting while there's a live event's going on, and then she walks out and hopefully it looks like her and then on and but I'm backstage and it was so it was such a weird trip. It was such a bizarre trip because I'd never done anything like that. And we're backstage and the guy I'm standing next to has all these guards and stuff around him, and I'm talking to him and he's a prime minister and we're there like, how are you doing? Like, oh, yo, whatever. And I cannot do it, the accent, but super nice. But and then so it was all really interesting, really kind of bizarre, and the girl that was going to walk me out on stage was freaking out because and I'm relaxed because I'm in Holland. I don't know anybody in Holland, so if I go out and make a big idiot of myself, I'll go back home and say, no, it was great. I did a great job. No one's gonna know. Just
No big deal.
yeah, it's no big deal. Just nobody look. Just don't go online. Whatever you do, don't go check it out. So I was nice and relaxed, but she was freaking out, and then at the after party thing, I was painting in oils then too. So I did the painting in oils, and we're at the after party. There's all these people dressed in really nice clothes and dresses and whatnots, and they're passing this painting around, this wet oil paint. Jackie's running all over the place. She's not worried at all about the painting. She just doesn't want to get on somebody's clothes. So
Oh, they were ballroom dresses.
it was so funny. Like you could hear, like I was talking to somebody, and I hear on one side of the room here, pitter pat, pitter pat, pitter pat. Go running, going like, no, be careful, be careful.
Oh, and it was oil. You painted in oil then.
Yeah.
There's no washing that out.
Yeah. That was.
Yeah.
I thought that was just a weird trip. It was so much fun.
So Uncle Joe said, I told Bev that feller was nice looking, and she said, who? And I said, that Jim Morrison must be somebody John knows. And she said he was in with the Doors. Sure am enjoying old age.
That's awesome. Well,
I should also say that I believe Barb was the one that emailed suggesting Jim Morrison as a subject. So awesome.
That's cool.
So if anybody else has, subjects, feel free to email and throw it in for next week.
Oh yeah, and before I have another one that I've sketched out of James Dean that I'm going to do. I've done 2 James Dean paintings, but I'm apparently going to do a painting for every year of his life. I don't know, but every day he was alive, I'm going to do a painting. I really like James Dean, but this is an iconic one, and somebody wanted to commission it, and you don't have to twist my arm too much to get me to paint James Dean or.
Oh, Barb she just said it was Jay Ingram. It was Jay Ingram. I remember that now. On the Daily Planet.
Oh yeah. He was really nice.
Yeah,
he was a nice guy.
Yeah, his very last show. That's funny.
Yeah.
Good memory there.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was big there. I mean, he just like I don't know. He's just one of the figures that sort of everybody knows. I think because he had a great personality, but he was around so long. And they what is that? They on that same show they also had a Rube Goldberg machine, and they built a giant one, and it's one of those things where like a Rube Goldberg machine is a machine that it's really complicated, but it's like a really simple, silly thing. Like you might have like this one. They had a bowling ball that would fall on something, and they would topple something else over, and it would shoot a plane off. And that would light a match. That would cut a string. That would shoot a cannon. That would do all these different things.
Yeah, that was
all day they were trying to get that thing to work.
Yeah, that was what was so crazy because it was a live show, and nobody does one of those machines in one go. I mean, like you hope that it works. Yeah. So I mean, it's like the OK Go music video. It's like how many times they probably tried that where it's a full 4-minute machine. It's nuts. But yeah, they did that. I forget who else was on that final show, but it was pretty interesting. They also held it in an old what was it? The place that they filmed it was in an old Mason's temple.
Yeah.
That was really cool. It was just in there. There was all sorts of secret passages in that thing because it was super old and creepy. It was gorgeous too.
But it makes sense though. That's a great place to a building to turn into a theater because you don't have a lot of windows.
Yeah.
Those places are always like there's no windows, and so.
Yeah, and there's the halls where they would gather, and that's I think where they had your setup. That was cool.
Yeah, and yeah. The green room was kind of down below all that. For all that, seems like you had to go up like weird elevators, back stairs, weird twisty things, and so I should say on this one I'm doing it kind of fast. So I'm not talking about what I'm doing as much, but I'm filling the lines. I'm going through and I made these lines really thick so that I could work a little faster for this, but so that I could talk and work and I'm just trying to block things in. And what I'm going to do is that after all this is blocked in, I'm going to let it dry, or I'm going to hit it with a heat gun. And we may not have time for the stream to do all this, but then I'll film it and then I'll speed it up. And so that before next week, I'll show it, and I'll speed it up too, so that for the next live stream, it'll just be on here. Like we can show the video of the finishing.
Yeah, that's a really good idea.
And two, because I know, this is definitely not like Bob Ross, where you're like, oh, we're all going to paint a tree and it's going to take 30 minutes. I want to try to finish the painting, and I at least want to either start a painting or finish a painting on the live stream. But I figured my thing has always been, it doesn't matter how long it takes to do a piece of art. It's going to be done forever. So, just do all you can with it, and then I'll tape the rest, and then in this day and age, with YouTube and whatnot, and all the videos that we do are going to be on our channel, so you can go back and rewatch it. So if you're wanting to work on this painting, instead of doing it live, which do it live, that'd be awesome. But if you do it, you can always go back to YouTube and rewatch it, and slow it down, go back, go forward.
Yeah, Brooke said we should tape you doing it, speed it up, and put it to Benny Hill music.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Oh, that's for some crazy reason that made me think, because whenever I paint in the studio, there's always music or something going on. There's always some sort of sound, or I have headphones on, or there's sound in some way. But thanks to copyright law, you can't do that. You can't stream anything. YouTube will mute it immediately.
I forgot about that. It'll mute you.
Yeah.
Instantly.
Mm-hmm.
So I should say Donna chimed in and said that Jim Morrison is beautiful. Indeed.
Indeed.
And, Sue Clark mentioned James Belushi. He'd be a pretty cool subject.
Yeah.
That would be a pretty well.
James,
yeah.
James, not John.
Jim.
Jim?
Well, I guess it's all the same.
No, they're brothers.
Well, I know, but
John.
there's two brothers.
Yeah, Jim and John.
Okay, who's James?
Well, I think Jim is James, like Jimmy, it's
Right.
nickname.
Right. Okay. Well, either way, paint one of them.
Well,
That would be cool.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I'm wondering which one that she's.
Okay.
Because they're both famous for different things, like Animal
Is it
House or
the one that died first, or the one that's still alive?
Well, that's what I'm asking.
That I know. Well, maybe Sue
Oh.
will chime in.
I thought you were asking
I
me.
voted for Danny DeVito.
Oh, Danny DeVito.
Oh, that
the
would
old
be
man in
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
And It's Always Sunny.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wacky. Oh,
wouldn't that be neat?
He'd be a funny one to actually.
Oh yeah. I'd want to meet Danny DeVito. Oh man,
Yeah.
I loved him ever since Taxi.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Oh.
So and Uncle Joe chimed in and said, "Oh Waylon," which
I would love to.
love to paint that.
Oh, I would. You know what would be cool, Joe? I want to do a painting of Willie Nelson.
I was gonna say Willie.
Yeah.
And he's got a craggy face, I'm sure, by now, like all those wrinkles and that hairdo.
But it's beautiful.
Oh, it would be wonderful. I would love to do that. I'd love to do an actual sitting with Willie Nelson, if he'd let me do it. And well, I gotta find him. How do you track down people
Go
like
to
this?
the picnic.
Yeah,
Every year he's got a 4th of
The
July.
4th of July picnic.
yeah, but
We're always at a.
there's like 1 million people that go to that.
Really, you can easily.
It sounds like a great way.
All right.
Sounds like a great way for me to get tackled by security.
Let me just see your face.
I just want to touch him. I just want to touch him all over. Come
We'll
on.
get Brooke on the case.
What's wrong with
So, Sue Clark said happy anniversary.
Oh, thank you.
And Marilyn.
9 years of marriage, 2 years of bliss. Just kidding. No, it's been it's incredible though. It's been wonderful. It's been 9 years of marriage, and then we dated for 4 years, so it's been 13
Yeah, you're
years.
welcome.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and the whole reason for this is Brooke over there. Oh, let me show you this really quick. Yeah, this is it's another sketch, but it's going to be of James Dean poking up through a sweater, and all this is actually going to be black. So this black is probably going to be gray or some other color, a little bit, give a different feeling. And then, but this is just a sketch. So this is the way I normally sketch, where it's very thin, but you can feel it thanks to the mediums I use. It gives a different feeling than the gesso. The gesso is very thick, and the gesso on a canvas is just this white stuff. It doesn't have to be white, but usually the stuff you get from the store they give it white, and you can change it if you want. But and it's a medium tooth, which means that you can have the gesso, you can prime the canvas so it's like burlap, where it's so thick it just grabs the paint and just soaks it up, or so fine it's like a sheet of paper. There's actually some techniques to be able to do that, where you can actually make it glossy like glass, and I can show that one of these days if you want. Where there's no tooth, it's just you fall right off it.
That would be really cool.
Yeah, you have to go. But you need a sander, but you use a different kind of way on the sand. You don't use sandpaper. You coat it with gesso, so you're rubbing like gesso on gesso, and you end up just polishing this fine thing. But But this is medium, and that works great, but it's a rough feel. I don't know if you can hear that. But on this, like, I don't know, you can kind of hear the difference. I mean, you can definitely feel the difference. And so it feels very different. So that's what that's going to be. Ta-da!
So Marilee Acker, your aunt, has chimed in.
Oh, my goodness. Well, hey, Marilee. Tell Jerry howdy. Howdy.
Howdy.
Indian Silver from Texas.
And she votes for Waylon next too.
Oh, that would be cool. I wonder if maybe I could do one of Waylon, send it to Willie, or at least a picture of it, so I don't think I'm crazy. This is what I'm working on. It's not done. It was a commission, and if you can't read the label, don't worry, it's not your eyes. You don't have to get your eyes checked. I usually write things a little bit gibberishy on these things.
Well,
or put in brown.
Yeah, our very first live stream that you did, we were tasting wine from Rada, because her husband has the winery.
That's right.
And that was the wine. So that was like a commission piece that
it is. That's right. That is from them, and it's almost done. So if you're watching, Rada, this is the picture you're going to be getting in your email pretty soon. But it's going to be a little different. There's going to be some more highlights, yellows and pinks and things going on. And but I'm just taking my time with it a little bit. I know, I know for anybody that's commissioned, they think, oh yeah, you definitely take your time. But I work on a lot of different paintings, but it's just that I don't want them to leave until I really feel good about them. And so, and I'm waiting. I'm kind of waiting for this dark stuff to dry a little bit, because I don't want to mess it up a little bit. But I can start putting in some colors. Here's one of my favorites. And what I'm probably going to do, I'm going to put in a little of these oh crap, these opaque kind of colors. But then I'm going to do a lot of washes in his hair too and stuff, just to make it a little bit different.
So Tony said you'd mentioned a mural in a local, I guess historical place or somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Could you do a mini version for us when you decide on the subject or something like that? Or tell us about it, I guess. You probably would sketch it out before you do anything, so yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that would be cool. And it'd be cool too if we go into the place and do a mural. We can film it there and maybe even do a live stream there.
We still want you to do that for MTV, like maybe on a big, we could get a big canvas and cover like the whole side of the brick wall on barley board.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool, man.
Man.
That would be cool.
All the cakes.
That sounds like fun. And that one place we haven't even gone in and talked to the owners yet. Like the owners expressed an interest, and but we've been out of town, and so hopefully next week we'll go in and talk to them and see if they're interested in getting a mural done. Because I've never done a mural. I've done large paintings, but I've never done a mural, so I'm not sure exactly what we would do. So I guess we'll find out. So what I'm doing right now, it may seem very quick, but I have this idea of colors and stuff that I want. So I'm just putting down basic color, just to loosen things up a little bit.
Well tread.
Oh, thank you. It's all. And this black is very wet, so this is the time to kind of do a lighter color. So I'm putting in a cerulean blue, because it's going to mix in with the black, and it's going to make it a little light in places. But of course, it's going to blend a little bit, so then it's going to make it darker and darker. And then I'll go back in and put more and put less. One of the things in a portrait, and I was saying before that the eyes and the mouth are really important. The hair is important too, but hair is kind of easy, and I can give you a tint. If with hair, what you're really looking for is the outside line and the inside line. So you're looking for the line that's going around the face. And then on the outside line, just the like if you were to shine a light on the wall, it's the shadow that it would cast would be the outside line. And then once you get those two, most of your work is done. Especially if it's a guy. Guys do less weird things usually with their hair than ladies. Like you might have to look for barrettes or interesting cuts, where one side's really shorter, or one side shaved, one side's longer, one side's curly. You don't know. You can have a ponytail coming out the side of the head. You got to feel all around, make sure. But basically, if you get the outside line and the inside line, and then you can go in and look for the differences. So whenever you're drawing it, you can just put in, like, you can frame the face, and then you go out and you put, like, on this is a very big, it's a close up, so you're not seeing the outside line really, which is nice. I wanted it up and personal. So on this painting, it's even easier. You're only thinking about the inside line. And what I think about Morrison's hair is it's like my hair. Of course, I make it look good, though. That's the only difference, I guess. Now, his hair is so crazy. Is that you can go in and you can get a little wacky with it. You can put in the colors.
So a lot of people are commenting on how sexy you're making him look.
Oh, well.
and then somebody on here.
It's the black lines, isn't it? Like,
it is the black.
It's the black line. And Drop Dead said, it must be a ladies' night on the stream.
Ooh la la. The Lizard King rides again.
Yeah.
Or whatever Lizard King does. Rides.
Whatever the Lizard King does.
Yeah, whatever the Lizard King does.
Barb chimed in and said, which is sweet, loves the way that we chat back and forth, and you can feel the respect and love. People who need marriage counseling should watch your channel.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome.
There's like, I'm trying to think of a joke. That's not funny. That's all I want to say. Well, thank you. Thank you. I don't know what to say. Well,
you like to talk and I like to listen. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah, you're really good at putting up with me, so that's always nice.
Well, vice versa, baby.
I know, right?
Right.
Man.
So Owen said, how about doing Stevie Wonder?
Yeah, man. Owen, you did a Stevie Wonder, and it's I forget where it is. Like,
yeah, he donated it to the Portrait to the Beck Center of the Arts in Lakewood, Ohio.
That is so cool, man. Hey, Owen, if you ever want to show some of your artwork on here to the crowd, because I've had it described to me, but if you want to ever share it, man, I think that'd be really cool. And share
his website in the chat if you ever want to, for sure.
Yeah, and we're doing this every Friday at 7. So, so if you don't have it this week, next week, buddy, or any artist that's out there, anybody that is into art, or if you see a painting that you like, there's a show in your town, and you're like, oh man, this painting really spoke to me. You can Skype it to us. We might be able to do it through email or something else. I'm not sure. But Skype is easy, so I don't know. We haven't done it yet. It could be terribly hard. It could be horribly hard. But we'll find out, I guess, one way or the other.
So Tony chimed in and said a NASCAR series. So,
oh man.
What's funny is you were also thinking about doing, because we went to Hot Springs recently, and you were thinking about doing, like, what is it, the horse races out there.
Yeah.
Because we went, while we were there, we went to a couple of different galleries and checked it out. Like, a ton of work out there is all of the horse races. I guess they have a big race or something out there.
Yeah, they sure do.
So
we do here too in Fort Worth, and we also have the track.
NASCAR is,
huge. Yeah, it's right down the way. I've never been to it.
Yeah.
And you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I've never been to a NASCAR race. But I've heard I really want to go. But what I really would like to do is go out there and what do you call it when you're in the parking lot? Tailgate. Yeah, I didn't feel like cars.
That's where the party's at.
Yeah, I want to tailgate. Cause I hear that's the thing.
NASCAR, have you seen it? The RVs.
It's a mecca.
Oh man.
I've seen people riding coolers that have engines. That's around.
Wow.
Man, that would be cool though. I could see you making some pretty wicked car paintings and I know, like, I haven't been to see, like,
the car.
Yeah. You painted anything you wanted.
Yeah.
But
slow down.
I can't do. I went there years ago, and I didn't see. It wasn't a NASCAR one. It was one of those big jet car type.
Oh yeah.
I forget what they're called, but they're the kind that have, like, the jet engine that come out of the back, and they only race down to, like, the straightaway. But it's so loud. I mean, everything vibrates, and I mean, a lot of people just go out there and wear headphones and all sorts of crazy stuff. But I bet you would get a total trip out of, like, feeling just the bleachers you're sitting in.
Oh yeah.
While that's happening, because it is, like,
Legend cars are really
nuts.
cool looking. Like they're kind of old school shaped.
Oh.
But then you also, down at the racetrack, since I teach right out there, they have Corvette races.
Oh, wow.
And, like Corvette gatherings.
Ooh.
I was driving by and there was seriously a line, and I just kind of drooled a little. I was like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah,
It was
Man.
amazing.
You could get some great ideas with some cars out there. That would
I would love to, man, and especially the whole thing about the tailgating too is that you really get filled in, because I've never really watched NASCAR. I mean, I've watched it, but since it's never been a thing that that I really got into, like with my dad or whatnot, like I don't know what they're talking about. It really, they're like, well, this driver did this and blah blah blah, and it's supposed to, and I get lost in the stats, and then you hear them. But I think if I was out there and you could feel the engines going by, it's like horse racing. I've only been a few times, 2 or 3 times to the track, but you can feel the horses go by and they're thundering by, and
Yeah.
and you're there and you're talking to people that love it and they're excited about it. And anytime you're around anybody that's excited about something,
Yeah.
it's interesting.
Horses on cobblestone, my favorite
Oh,
sound.
yeah, that is a good sound.
For shows coming up, I should say too, we're gonna do the show where we have like live models, and we're thinking maybe like a 20s theme.
Yep.
So could do like a 20, like have live, so we can talk about questions about having a live model, or trying to capture that, and also do pairings and stuff. So if we're talking about an era, then we could we talk about what sort of food what goes in that era, what kind of cocktails or whatever sort of goes along with that. But
Well, we got about 8 minutes left, John. Let me go over what some people have been saying or asking. Valerie asked if there's any favorite artwork that you like to make for yourself.
That's a good question. Everything I paint is for myself. I'm just greedy that way. I mean, I am, even my commissions. The way I turn down quite a few commissions, but I accept a lot. But I have to really want to paint it, and so everything I paint is really for myself. And even like with the commissions, whenever I do one, I don't take any money down at all until the painting is completely done and the person likes it. Then if they want to buy it, they can. But all the way up until that point, it's my painting. It's for me. I'm doing it the way that it feels right and it should be right. And then if they don't want it, that's great. Like there's that's only happened a couple times where somebody's like, come to think of it, I think, and it's always like with the commission thing, it's always like they'll want a very realistic painting, and then it takes me a while to do it, and then when I'm done, they'll think, I'm thinking really abstract is the way I want to go. So I'm like, oh, that's cool. So and that's happened twice, I think. But I always end up with something that at least one of us likes. So that's the nice thing about that.
Those are good odds.
Yeah, that's good odds. Out of that, somebody's gonna be happy with it.
So Sue Clark said she started painting a year ago and has a Pinterest board called My Art under Sue Clark, if anybody would like to look.
Oh, that's cool.
So, and then Uncle Joe said if he had ever dated a woman with eyes and hair that pretty, he would put the top down and honk the horn.
I bet you would. Man. I should say too about this whole policy of me not taking money for commissions is a complete 180 of every other artist I've ever talked to, met, read a blog or interview, heard of an interview or anything. Most people are really worried about getting money for the commissions and stuff, and there's probably a good reason for that. So so if you're like an artist and you're thinking about doing stuff, don't necessarily do it. That's just the way I do it, and it makes sense for me, but it doesn't necessarily work for everybody. I don't know. I just wanted to go through. I'm not advocating to do paintings for free until somebody pays you for it. It just
So Owen said he started YouTubing his artwork and could try Skype. He's never used it. Do you need a webcam for Skype?
I think Skype.
I think you do, yeah.
Well, no. You can call in, but if you want to show video of your work,
that's
then
right.
you've got to have a camera. Although you might be able to send pictures or something over. I don't know. With Skype.
I think it's either chat or video chat. I don't know if you can send pictures.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure either.
Oh, and somebody chimed in and said there's a lot of Sue Clarks on Pinterest, so if Sue's listening, she could throw a link up into the chat for people.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
So, and Uncle Joe said Pops Carter was a classic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Joe. He was so interesting, so old yet so iconic. I mean, just crazy dogs, crazy everything. It was the whole package. And it's funny too, because like, even though like towards the end he was getting really old, if there was a college party somewhere and it's like 3 or 4 in the morning, Pops Carter would come in. And it was just where he was always. I don't know how the guy did it, but you're always hearing stories about him. Like, so I having a party. It's 4 in the morning.
Well, we saw him at parties at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
kissing girls.
Yeah, young girls.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Well, not young. But,
Well,
I mean, legal. Not like, yeah, not like,
yeah.
But he's like 80, and yeah, maybe he's kissing like a 20-something-year-old or something.
Yeah,
Which is
that's
weird.
a little
Which
weird.
it was interesting guy for sure.
Valerie chimed in and said, you can search for her art on Heavenly Legends Art.
That's awesome.
And Owen said, when you do commissions, how do you determine the cost of your paintings? What do you go by, amount of time or value of paintings?
Owen, that's such a good question. And I think if you ask 10 artists, you probably get 10 different responses. And one thing that I think is kind of silly is that artists are really hesitant to talk about prices, and they're hesitant to. I mean, it makes sense. It's all business and stuff, but they're also hesitant to tell people how to price their artwork. And I think that's ridiculous because I don't think we're really competing. I don't think one artist necessarily is competing with another artist. Either somebody connects with your artwork or they don't. But the way that I and this has changed over the years, but the way that we've settled on, at least for right now, is we do it by size. So a 16 by 20 has a certain price. If it's a portrait, it's a little bit more because portraits take longer. An 18 by 24 is a certain price. So it's all by size because my paintings usually have a certain thickness to it. So I have impasto on it as well as thin. So it's both thick and thin. And it could take a while for me to do a painting, or it could take a little bit of time, but it all kind of washes out in the end. And, there's some subject matters that just take more. But the only one that we actually charge a little more for is a portrait, because we know those always take more. And you got to be really careful with the portraits. You don't want to mess up their eyes or their nose or whatever. So it's a lot of just going back and forth, going back over it and over and over it again. But a hard thing with an artist, too, is that it's really hard to charge for your time, and there's some people say do it, and some people say don't do it. I say don't do it, only because when it comes down to the expenses in a working studio, time is something that you have control over, and other things you don't. Like, you don't have control over how much your canvas costs. Like, you can try and buy in bulk, you can try to do this or that. Your paint, your brushes, all that you can try to buy in bulk, which I do to save money for it. It's something I know I'm going to use. But your time is something that is yours. So I don't usually charge for my time. It's just, I have an idea how long it's going to take me to do a painting. And so I don't know, is that a good, do you think that's a good answer, guys? Or
I do. I should say Valerie chimed in and said she takes 50% commission down because of how she does it. She does pyrography. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but it's like wood burning.
Yeah.
And
nice.
So she gets the client's approval before she goes further into the project. But that work sounds really cool if she ever wanted to say.
Yeah, if you ever want to send that, oh man. And you know what? And we'll try to figure out a better way to share files. That way, because you guys might just be able, if you don't want to Skype in, you might just be able to email us a file like during the live or put it on Facebook or something. We'll figure it out so that we can just grab that image and put it up on the stream if you want. Or there might be a way, you can't put images up on the chat, can you?
I don't
think
know.
so.
If they send it, we could try next week. I don't know.
If not, I mean, we can definitely put it in the live stream. Like we can add an image, but so we can figure all that out. And the only reason, one of the reasons I don't charge a commission right now too is because if a person did say they didn't want the painting, I have shows that are coming up that I'm painting for, so I always have a place for another painting. If they don't want it, then it actually eases something else somewhere else. So like if a person didn't want the painting, which is rare, but if they didn't, then that's just one less painting I have to paint for a show. So I'll put it in the show, and that eases up that. And it keeps the client happy because they're not worried about getting something they're not absolutely in love with, because you never know what's going to happen in the artwork. Something could take a turn, the color isn't exactly right, they could decide suddenly they like abstracts. You know, anything could go into it, and so it just makes it, and it makes it where the person who's buying it is nice and relaxed, and I know that I have a place to put the painting if everything went awry. I didn't waste my time. I can always put the painting in the show.
So it's 9:01. Do you have any
Oh.
final thoughts? I'm gonna put the image of the painting in the corner.
Oh, well, final thoughts. I just want to thank everybody for coming and doing this. This is, we're doing this live stream because it's fun and we love talking about artwork, and we're trying to build a community up here. And I encourage anybody, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. That is awesome. We're trying to build up the numbers, and it's interesting with these things. You get a certain amount of likes, you get a certain amount of subscribers, and then YouTube will open it up, and we might be able to do more interesting, or not more interesting, but different kinds of workshops, different kinds of things.
Well, and thanks to Sue, because I according to the chat, she was bringing quite a few people that were like, "Hey, Sue, hey,
Oh,
Witzel, hey."
thanks so much, Sue.
Yeah, so thanks for sharing, guys. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
heck yeah, you guys are awesome. This is so much fun. I can't tell you how much I look forward to this, and actually get to chat and talk. Most of the time is stuck in the studio just working away.
So we'll post the finished version of this. Well, you're gonna try video, right?
Yes, I'm going to video it. I'll use one of the cameras or GoPro or something and just have it time lapse or do something. But I'll film it so that we can actually see the rest of it come together. And then I'll have that for you for next week, before the beginning of next week, I hope.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much. And
one other thing, if anybody's bored and turns their computer on tomorrow morning, check the channel. We might be live streaming from the arts festival. We'll just see how this goes. It'll be an experiment.
And we're definitely going to try.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting. It'll be our first live broadcast elsewhere. Could be crazy.
Yeah. Could be awesome.
And thanks to Brooke for hanging out.
All right, night, guys.
Good night, guys. Hope see y'all next Friday.